Can senior citizens really get into 3D printing? Hi, I'm Gene, and I decided I wanted to look into buying and starting to play with 3D printing. And, well, let's get started. Now, first thing, I really don't like considering myself a senior citizen. Yes, I am over 65, and yeah, it does mean I'm technically a senior citizen. But I think of senior citizens as like my parents, or even for that matter, the music I grew up with, they're calling oldies. That's not oldies. It's like the Eagles and Foreigner and Journey and bands like that. I don't think they want to be called oldies. I think I'm going to rename this senior thing to retro. Yeah, that sounds cooler. But anyway, let's talk about 3D printing. So why did I want a 3D printer? One of the things I really wanted was I noticed that every single shop tool I have in my shop, from the bandsaw to the sander to the portable table saw to the planer, you name it, every single one of these has a different vacuum port size. And I found I was struggling to get it to hook up to my vacuum system. So I thought, all right, I have one size port coming from the vacuum. I should be able to create adapters that will fit every one of my tools to this. So to be honest, I had gone online and I've bought a lot of different ones, and usually you end up buying them like from Lowe's or even from Home Depot or even on Amazon, and you'll buy like these variety packs and you still don't get anything that's particularly working. And then if you do get something to adapt it, you end up, it's not quite there, so you start wrapping duct tape around it or some crap like that, and now it's all sticky. It's a mess and it looks like hell. So I decided I want to be able to create my own adapters to every one of these tools. So I was able to print these from the tool to the hose fit on everything that I had, and that was fantastic. Now you don't have to do it in green. You can do any color you want. I did it in green because one, I kind of wanted to be able to see what I was doing more, but you could do it in like black just as easily. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And I did it also in greens because I wanted to be able to, for you to be able to see kind of what I'm doing with all of these. Now, to create this, I did this in a free program that's called Tinkercad. Now, this sounds like it might be intimidating, but for somebody like me, a senior citizen, you can use this Tinkercad, and there are tons of tutorials on it. It's free, and I was able to very quickly come up with the sizing and start making these adapters. Now I have these on every single shop tool I have, and they all hook right up to my shop vac, and that is so nice. Right there alone is one of the biggest reasons why I was interested in doing that. 2 years ago, I looked into 3D printing, and I even ordered like a 3D printer kit where you literally are using this open-end software and you're building a printer. But to be honest with you, there took so much in like things like bed leveling and adjusting and getting everything set up just right. I didn't want to mess with any of this stuff. I wanted a system that could handle all that. And so I started doing a little research and watching a lot of videos on 3D printing, and I started the name Bambu Labs started showing up a lot. Now, this is not an endorsement for Bambu Labs or a paid promotion. This was just something that I found, and I'm not going to do a review on it. I'm just talking about, I found this was, for me, probably the simplest system I had ever seen. In the past, I'd looked at a lot of things like you would also have to, if you wanted to make files, you'd have to get into using some kind of a CAD software. Most of it was things like Fusion 360, and it was just a learning curve to this. Well, now there's software out there called Tinkercad, super easy to use and actually fun to learn, and tons of videos out there on that. And then the printer that I picked up is a Bambu Labs A1 Mini. Now this is a small printer, but it's a very simple and cool design, and it sets everything up. I mean, almost out of the box, there's very little to assemble, but once you're ready to start printing, all you gotta do is choose your file,
It sends it over, and you can even do this from your phone. You choose your file, you send it over, it calibrates everything that it needs, and it does the printing. That's what I wanted.
Now the A1 Mini, like I said, it's sold. I paid $220 for it, and for about another $100, you can buy a setup to do multiple colors. But I started looking at multiple color 3D printing and decided that's not really what I'm looking for, because one, you waste a lot of filament every time it switches colors. It does a thing called poop. And that basically is every time it cleans that out, it pushes out enough of the old filament to start on a new color. And so you're wasting a lot of filament just to change colors. And to be honest with you, you can paint this stuff as easy, if not easier, than probably doing the multicolor. Now, eventually, maybe I'll want to do that because this can handle it. But right now, single color is just fine with me. Once you have it set up, you can print something from Maker World. One of the first things I printed, of course, was the little tiny boat. And I see this in so many of the starter things for 3D printing. I think they call this Benchy. And that was the first thing I printed. And it was just so cool watching that print. But I mean, you're unlimited what you can find. Even in that Maker World, I pulled up and I printed a, this is like a beer can holder, but I use it for a paintbrush or a pencil holder. And I just printed it in that same green and then painted it, hand painted it. And I had more fun doing that than if I would have been using the multicolor, and I don't think you could get all this soft touches like that. Now, I'm just having a lot of fun with this and just really enjoying being able to augment some things in my shop and make things that help work for me around here. And I'm not really interested in selling the pieces or building, you know, there's a lot of talk about print farms where people buy multiple printers and they sell the products that they print on that, which I think is fantastic. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at things that if I want to build small parts that work in my shop, or even small parts that I can use in my vehicles and things like that, or even around the house, that could be really cool. One of the things I decided to pick up for it, because I wanted to keep this in the shop, was some kind of an enclosure. Now they make enclosures, or you can buy even more expensive printers with enclosures, but I bought this little vinyl one, and so far it's been working really well for me. You know, because the fact is, I do have sanders and saws and things like that in here, and I try to keep the area clean, but the cleaner area I can keep for this, the better, and I think I spent $30 on that. I also bought a container for filament. One word of warning, though, is once you get into this, you really do. You start enjoying it and thinking of what you can print, or looking at different things, or creating things. So the next thing you know, I'm buying all kinds of filament just so I have it. And, you know, sometimes they'll have sales of, if you buy 4 rolls, they knock 25% off. The rolls they sell are not that expensive, especially if you buy them in more of a quantity. I think I paid $12 or $13 a roll for this PLA Basic is what they call it. Another thing you may want to pick up is a dryer. Now this basically is just made to keep your filament dry, especially if you live in a humid area, which I do in the summer. So you can set this to a temperature and let it sit inside of here for a couple hours, and it'll help suck all the moisture out of the filament to make sure that your printing does well. I mean, things I enjoy printing, stuff like, you know, that are steampunk, the gears and things. This is just designed up in Tinkercad, and this is just a plant hanger. I even printed and immortalized my dog Harper.
So in conclusion, I basically want to say, heck yeah, if you're retro like me, get into 3D printing. It's going to be fun. I am really having a ball with this. What I'd like to know too is, are you interested in hearing more about it and me doing more projects and videos, or stay away from it, of what you want to see? Let me know down in the comment section below. And in the meantime, well, as always, I'll see you soon.